Alright, so now we have the board all ready to use, and I measured it and it's 10¼ inches wide. Now I need to create a template to cut it from. So I come up here to my computer, and this is the design that I'm going to be using right here. This is in Corel Draw, and so I made a box around the outside here to represent the wood, and it's 10¼ inches wide. And I want to leave about a ½ inch margin around that and on all sides in order to have room for my scroll saw to work. So then I just took my main design here and stretched it until it fit inside of that inner box. So now I've taken the drawing and printed it out, but it's actually too large to fit on one sheet of paper. So what I'm going to do is cut this white border off. It doesn't have to be very precise what I'm doing here. Now I'm going to position this so it aligns perfectly everywhere. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So now what I'm going to do, take a couple little pieces of blue tape and just stick them on. They'll be coming back off in a few minutes. Just stick them on lightly. Make a hinge. And just put about a ½ inch of glue, or in my case, glue stick, but regular glue would work just fine. Fold it back over and smooth it down, and go ahead and pull off these little pieces of tape. So now we have a single template. So what we're going to do to transfer the image from the paper to the wood is to trace it using what used to be called carbon paper, graphite paper, or image transfer paper, and put it underneath this picture like this. But if I can't afford to have anything moving around like this while I'm tracing it, because that'll ruin it. Center it on the wood reasonably. Notice also, as I mentioned earlier, these long pieces that hang down need to run in the same direction as the grain in order for them to be strong. If I did put it this way, it would not work, because these little long unsupported pieces would break off very easily. So we're going to put it on like this, and I don't want anything moving. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another piece of blue tape, put it down on this edge, wrap it around a little bit there, get it good and solid. Put a piece over here. Okay, so now I take my carbon paper with the dull black side down, put it up underneath this paper, take another piece of tape and secure it down on this end, just to make sure that nothing moves at all. So what I'm going to do, take a straight edge. Anything that's straight, I'll use a straight edge for. I'll take a ballpoint pen and just trace over these lines. And there's a lot to trace. I'll go ahead and do all the straight lines first. Now normally I would print it so that the lines, the shading would not be black like this. I'd print it so it'd be a nice light gray like this is in here. Then it's also very good to use a red pen to do your outlining, because then it's very easy to see where you've outlined and where you may have missed. Alright, so let's see how we did. Take it up there, just fold it down in case I missed some spots. Make sure I have all my lines going around, and it looks pretty good. So I'll go ahead and pull this off now. Now we're going to cut out this pattern using a scroll saw, but it can be a fairly complex decision about what you're cutting and what you're not cutting. There's a lot of lines going on here. The letters are going to be raised above the Star David design, and then these areas are going to be cut all the way through. So what I want to do is I want to mark with a colored pencil all the areas they're going to be cut all the way through, so I won't get confused when I get on the scroll saw. So this little area up here, this area does not get cut through. It's just going to get cut partially. I'll just cut out this area with a scroll saw, but then I'll take my router and I'll cut down through all this right here. So this little line right here should not have been there in the design. So this area in green is going to be routed down. And again, this area is going to be cut out. This whole large area right here will be cut out. So all this will just be routed down lower. I'm not going to color the whole thing, but you can get the idea. So I'll have to route around here, inside of here, leave that little bit there. Okay, so now that we have the image transferred onto the wood, I need to cut the board to length so that it'll fit better on the scroll saw table. So I take this larger square, line it up across the table, and again I want to leave about 1/2 inch border right here, and just mark it there. Now we're going to do a cross cut on the table saw to knock it down to the right length. So once again, when I'm about to make a cross cut, I'll put my board against the miter and push it forward close to the blade so I can see exactly where the blade is going to contact the board. It looks good there. So I pull it back, start up the saw, keep my hands out of the way, keep it over here, but I want to keep the board pressed up against the miter while I'm making a cut. Wait till the blade comes to a stop before reaching up around it to grab wood.